Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Phil Kelly. I'm here with my colleague Richard Thompson today. We're both from Fox's Biscuits. I'm the Divisional Health and Safety Manager based at the Batley site. Richard is the Health and Safety Manager based at our Kirkham site. And we're here today to talk to you about the things that we've done that have been used to practically reduce slip and trip incidents in the workplace. Thank you.
So thanks, Phil. So we're talking primarily about two sites here. Batley, which has about 1,000 people working there, and our Kirkham site has about 500 people working there. So that's a lot of footfalls and a lot of potential for slip and trip accidents. And as you can see here, going back a couple of years, Batley had 54 slip and trip accidents, which were 25% of the total. 2 reportable, and that came to about £18,000 in total cost to us, and a combined total of 95 days absence. So our Kirkham site, 08-09, 13 slip and trip accidents, and 33% of the total accidents, so a third. And this was 1 reportable, but it cost us just over £7,000. So if proof were needed, these figures confirm that slip and trips are a significant cause of accidents on our site. Just to give you a bit of background, by this time we'd already had in a strong management commitment team, we had a safety committee, we had safety signs and barriers, we did have walkways, we had safety shoes on site. So we had to think, what's happening? So we had a light bulb moment, and clearly we needed to improve. So the one thing is accidents do have a significant effect on site, because to our company it's an unacceptable AFR which we're measured against. Obviously the costs are important because, you know, people off work, claims, etc. And then the probably most important one is the low morale of our workforce, because, you know, if you're coming to work you want to be able to go home in the same condition you came to work in. And if you think you might have an accident, that's not going to cause a good relationship. So phase 1 of our improvements was our car park. Clearly from these pictures, different levels, broken concrete, gravel. So at a cost to us of £30,000, we put in a brand new layer car park, tarmac and clearly defined spaces, which gave us 80 spaces. And that's nearly 1 shift for the Kirkham site. And then other slip and trip hazards which we had was checker plate, which, you know, as one project manager said to me, oh, it's industry standard, Richard. Well, I argued a toss. And of course now, where we can, we have O-grate, where it's not over the food. And then other wins are just where the floor was starting to break up, because clearly, you know, it doesn't take too much to put a brand new laid surface down, and we did this patch by patch on a priority basis. And again, it's not just about the factory or outside, it's about people coming into the factory as visitors, and we do get a lot of visitors to site from customers, other companies. So the canteen, a lot of chance there for a slip or a trip. So again, we looked at what we can patch up, we relayed the floor, and then, well, what can we do to increase the safety? We looked at putting some anti-slip strips down, and they're now our defined walkway through the canteen, and people seem to happily follow that. And then clean as you go. We've been picked up on this before, so what exactly does clean as you go mean? Well, you've got to provide people with the tools to do clean as you go. In our factory, which it must be 100 metres long plus, you know, you can't expect somebody to walk from one end to the other to clean up, to sweep up, to mop up. So what we did, we defined where we needed them, and we prioritised it, and we put in some cleaning stations. And the key thing here is you just make out in the picture that they're colour-coded. So if it's hygiene, they know which colour to use, and if it's production, they know which colour to use, and then there's no cross-contamination issues. So, bringing ourselves more or less up to date then, we're looking at the figures again for Batley. So 24 slip and trip accidents, and this is a reduction of 53% on our last low figures, with 2 reportable over 3 days. Kirkham, we had 4 slip and trips accidents out of the total, so that's a 66% reduction on the last figures, with 2 reportable over 3 days. So a great overall reduction in slip and trip accidents. However, we clearly still needed to do more. So what were we missing?
Thanks, Richard. So as we've already said, everything that we'd done so far had driven some improvements, but there was still more that we could do. But the question is, what were we missing? We'd got all our standards in place, all of our policies, risk assessments for all the activities, audits and inspections of the workplace were being carried out, all the lines of communication, health and safety committees, poster campaigns, information on the TV screens in the canteens, etc. loads of engineering controls and all the procedures that were briefed out to the staff, but there was something that was missing, the final piece of the jigsaw, and that was people's behaviour. How could we influence people's behaviour to reduce slips and trips further within the workplace? We came up with a set of key safe behaviours. The example that you see on the screen there is from our Kirkham site, and two of those examples there. The second one down is keep to footpaths, both internal and external. We all know if you put a footpath down, you've got to keep it in good condition, well maintained and free from all contaminants. So if we're saying to people, follow this footpath from the car park into the building, from the locker rooms into production, we're going to give you safe passage. And likewise, the provision of safety footwear as well, making sure that everybody on site was wearing the footwear where it was required. These key safe behaviours were then monitored and people were challenged on any, shall we say, non-compliance with carrying out the key safe behaviours, and likewise people were commended, complimented with regards to demonstrating these key safe behaviours. Because to run a successful behavioural safety programme, it's not just about negative reinforcement where you're telling somebody off, it's also about positive reinforcement, and positive reinforcement is a very powerful tool in motivating somebody to carry out a behaviour. We all like being told we're doing well, we all like being patted on the back, and therefore that has been shown to increase the likelihood of repeat behaviour when that person is in that situation again. So a number of walkways were defined on site, twofold. One, because there's a lot of forklift truck and pallet truck activity in these factories, as you can imagine, and so these walkways were defined and barriers were provided to prevent collisions between forklift trucks and pedestrians, but also the walkways were put down because, as I've said earlier on, this was the safe passage to and from one area to another, from the canteen to the shop floor, etc. If people were observed taking shortcuts, their behaviour was challenged, they themselves were asked what they thought the risk of taking that shortcut was. They then had their own light bulb moments. Oh yeah, I could be run over by a forklift truck. Oh yeah, I might slip on something that's on the truck route as opposed to the walkway. They then identified and acknowledged the risks themselves. They then realised what the correct behaviour was, and they then committed to carrying out that correct safe behaviour in the future going forward. These walkways have also been coated with a special paint which has shown to give greater slip resistance properties than untreated surface areas. Another couple of examples there. The one on the left is just an adhesive strip that you can just cut to length and put down, and within an hour you've got a defined walkway. And likewise, the one on the right hand side is the painted surface where you can just get a 5 litre tin and a roller and roll one down, let it dry, and you've got a defined walkway that gives greater slip resistance than an untreated area. As Richard has already alluded to, this programme wasn't just subject to the shop floor. People can have slips and trips anywhere on site, inside or outside, production floor, offices, anywhere. So we extended this to include all the staircases on the site. We've got a lot of people going from production to the canteen, from the offices to production, and likewise. So we wanted to make sure that anybody going up and down the stairs did it properly. So the key safe behaviour in these areas is to stick to the left hand side, go up the steps one at a time and make sure that you're holding the handrail. It's a common fact that when you come down the steps, you're more likely to have an accident coming down than going up. And that's why that we've identified this as one of our key safe behaviours, because if you do slip or trip or stumble going down the steps and you're holding the handrail, you are a lot less likely to fall down those steps than you would do if you weren't holding the handrail. Further examples, because it's a food factory, people are required to constantly wash their hands when entering production areas. People wash their hands, they dry their hands with hand towels. It's obvious that some of the water is going to end up on the floor. So what we did is we installed some matting that will absorb the water droplets and not allow that to be just lying on the floor surface waiting for somebody to step on it and potentially slip over. Also within this matting, there's a number of bristled sections, so as when you're walking over it, not only are you protected from any contaminant that's on the floor because it's caught in a shallow pit, you're also cleaning your shoes in the process as you're walking over the bristles. And to complement that, we've also installed a number of shoe cleaning machines. Before you go into production, you clean the soles of your shoes so that not all the soles are bunged up with biscuit dough and debris and cream, etc. Just to show how the physical improvements and the key safe behaviours work together, this is another section of the matting at the bottom of the stairs, so to make sure that we don't transfer any debris from production areas onto the stairs that lead to the canteen and the offices, we make sure that the footwear is as clean as it possibly can be and no debris is transferred onto the stairs, and also then that you hold the handrail when you're ascending and descending the stairs. So less contaminant on the stairs, key safe behaviour demonstrated, people can go up and down stairs all day long, minimising the risk of slipping and tripping as they go. Not only is it exclusive to the internal areas, we've also extended this to the external areas on site, where we've got a number of external staircases, and what we've done is we've painted these in a paint that's got a grit-like coating in it, so it gives greater level of adhesion for when you're going up and down these steps. It's also painted bright yellow so that people can actually see the steps and stairs as they're moving around the site. I'm conscious of the fact that this presentation so far has been focusing on slip hazards. It would be remiss if we didn't mention what we've done in terms of reducing trip hazards. The example on the left with the airline was a very, very simple one. We use airlines to clean machinery down. The airline was dragged to point of use across a walkway where people needed to get into the area to carry out various other activities. So one person could be using the airline, cleaning down the machine, totally oblivious to the fact that they've posed a trip hazard to somebody else. So we were stood looking at this issue one day, wondering what we could do to reduce or eliminate this risk. You know, we were going to put it up and out of the way using cable clips or cable ties, etc. And one operator just walked past and with a throwaway comment said, well, why don't you move it to the other side? What a good idea, we thought, and we did. And we got rid of the trip hazard straight away. Absolutely fantastic, no cost. Yeah, and likewise, the picture on the right, we've all probably seen this when we're in presentations, in conference rooms, in training sessions, etc. You know, projectors and laptops running from a socket to a table. Dead simple, bit of masking tape or a bit of cable guard to stop the lead from snaking around your ankle and tripping you up in front of a class that you're delivering a presentation to. So there's some of the physical elements that we've done, but as we've said, we were talking about behavioural safety, and there's two types of behavioural safety programme in operation within Fox's Biscuits. What you see on screen here is what we call the Deal With It programme, and this is being run at Kirkham, and the fill-in Deal With It card. So it's what the concern was and how that particular observer has dealt with the issue. So the observer will fill in the name, the date that the observation was carried out, the department it was carried out in, and the particular shift that they were on at the time. Whether it was a safe or unsafe act or a condition that was undertaken or observed, this particular location within the department and how it was dealt with. It may well be that it was dealt with in the form of a conversation by highlighting the unsafe activity that was committed, or the fact that they were commending somebody from carrying out a safe act. Yeah? Or it may well be that there was a pool of water on the floor and somebody's being observed putting a cone there to highlight the hazard, or they're actually taking the action to clean that up and eliminate that particular risk. All the information is collated from these cards, inputted into a database, and then a number of graphs are displayed on the behavioural safety notice board that is strategically placed en route to the canteen, in the canteen corridor, so that everybody that goes to the canteen can see the information and how we're doing. This is just a close-up shot of one of the graphs that's on that board in the previous slide, and as you can see, the large spike there relates to slips, trips and falls. Nearly 1,800 conversations have been had with regards to slips, trips and falls within the workplace. What I will say is that not all of those 1,800 have been unsafe acts or negative conversations. There will be a number of positive conversations that have been included within that 1,800 conversations there. To just show how effective the behavioural safety programme has been in not only reducing the slip trip incidences within the workplace, but how effective it's been in reducing total accidents within the workplace. If you look at the 2004-2005 section of this graph, where the behavioural safety Deal With It programme wasn't running, you can see that there was 150 accidents, nearly 20 of those were notifiable to the HSE, and no conversations were being had. As we go through 05-06, we started the behavioural safety programme, accidents start to come down, notifiable accidents start to come down. And then as we go across 06 to 07, more conversations, less accidents. 2007, 2008, moving downwards again and again and again, and all the way to the current year, 2011, 2012, where we're having lots and lots of conversations and very few accidents. You talk about safety, it's at the forefront of people's mind. Yeah, you develop that safety culture, it has the desired effect in reducing total accidents and reportable accidents. Is it working? 74 accidents year to date at Batley, 17 slip and trips, one of those which has been reportable, so a 25% reduction on the figures that Richard referred to at the end of his part of the presentation. So yes, we're moving in the right direction. Likewise, Kirkham, 22 accidents so far, 4 of those slip and trips, 2 of which were reportable. So it's a stand on year to date, but with every confidence that it will deliver the results that we expect it to. Slips and trips will continue to remain one of our key focus areas for accident reduction. We do hope that this presentation has given you some ideas on how to reduce these kind of accidents in your own organisations. Thank you. Any questions?
Did you run any internal campaigns?
Yes, we did. We used the Slips and Trips Shattered Lives campaign, took the information, the posters, the learning resources, etc. from the HSE website, placed them strategically in the canteen so that when people were sat on the breaks, they were aware of the issues with slips and trips, played a number of videos on the canteen TV screens as part of our bigger overall strategy for slip and trip reduction in the workplace. Okay, any more questions?
How did staff react to challenging senior managers in having a conversation?
Very well. Because the behavioural safety programme has been led from the top, they were informed that nobody was, shall we say, off limits when it came to being allowed to commit an unsafe behaviour. It's very much a case of leading by example. So regardless of who you are within the organisation, if you are observed committing an unsafe act, your behaviour will be challenged, and all site managing directors, site general managers have signed up to say that they will demonstrate safe behaviour, lead by example, and if they are observed demonstrating unsafe behaviours, they will be challenged and they will have a conversation. And because it's led from the top, people don't need telling twice to challenge a general manager on site. They see it as a challenge to actually challenge the general manager, if you see what I mean.
Okay, so any questions?
Can I ask a question? Did you use any of the HSE tools to help you with your campaign?
Yeah, we used 2 primarily. Was the STEP tool, which we had as a CD-ROM. I mean, we've used online, but this is easy just to use as on a laptop, and you can use that around the training rooms and on the site. And that was, we showed the canteen, because, you know, they're contractors on site, but they work for us all the time. And the video that shows the young lady talking about looking forward to a engagement party, and then she slips and she tips the hot fat over her, that went down like a stone. There was lots of gasps. It was like I don't know, The Exorcist, if anybody remembers those days. And then we've used the mopping up programme. So people think they know how to mop up, but previous presentations have shown they don't, and they need to have some instruction, so you can use that on an ad hoc basis. We've also used the SAT tool. So we've been around site. I've personally taken measurements using the instructions. Very easy to use, very simple to set up. I borrowed it for a couple of weeks and I did periodical tests on site. So high risk areas that have come out just from risk assessment where we know there's a lot of footfalls around the packing ends, also walkways, even truck routes, because you know you do try and keep people away, but we wanted to get the different surfaces, and we do have different surfaces on a biscuit site, and that was very well received. So and the record keeping's dead easy. You just plug it in on your PC and you've got a record, and it was very well received by site and also by the central health and safety team. So and that's the resource that we continue to use. So any other questions? No. So thanks very much. Okay, bye now.